We interrupt this broadcast and bring you this important bulletin from the United Press. Flash, Washington. The White House announces Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor.
All over the United States, women are called upon to leave their homes and take jobs. 18 million women aren't enough. As more men are called for military service, their places must be taken by women.
Here, the lady of the clothesline becomes an expert on electric lines.
On December 7, 1941, the Japanese Navy conducted a surprise military attack on the United States in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. This strike lured the U.S. deeper into World War II, with the rates of enlistment going from about 2,000 men in 1938 to over 3 million men in 1942. As women waved goodbye to the men of the country leaving for war, they were faced with an alteration in their responsibilities. An alteration that would not only help the war effort, but also turn into a gateway to equal rights in the workplace. Rights that would give them the opportunity to work alongside men. Before World War II began, women had very distinct responsibilities in society. They were viewed as domestic beings, taking care of their homes, their children, and their husbands.
Prior to the war, what were your responsibilities?
Prior to it, before you I was a housewife. I had a child I was taking care of.
The men were the ones who were responsible for providing for their families economically. Women were seen as inferior to men and did not have the same rights as they did.
And we went to the union hall to get jobs. They took my husband, but there was a big sign up on the wall. No women, no blacks.
It is not so much that women did not wish to be like men, than it is that society had simply given specific responsibilities to each gender, yielding very different rights. As the war carried on and there was a lack of workers in jobs that were usually done by men, women began to leave their homes and set out to fill these open spaces. In addition to their traditional responsibilities, women had the added-on responsibilities that men had left behind. Conceivably, the most famous symbol of women during World War II was of women altering their responsibilities to assist the war. Women like these soon came to be called Rosie the Riveters.
All the day long, whether rain or shine, she's a part of the assembly line. She's making history, working for victory. Rosie,
the predominant image of women who took on these manly responsibilities was Rosie the Riveter. She was first created by singers and songwriters Red Evans and John Jacob Loeb in 1942 in a song called Rosie the Riveter. In 1943, artist Norman Rockwell created the image of her as a poster advertisement to encourage women to work wartime jobs. The Rosie the Riveter campaign changed the image of women completely. Rosie portrayed the newfound responsibilities of women. Not only were women obligated to fulfill their previous duties, but they also had the responsibility of working in order to keep our nation alive and our soldiers strong and supplied on the battlefield. Most women who were called Rosies were successful at whatever job that they had. In the beginning of the war, lots of propaganda was used in order to recruit women workers in male-dominated jobs. Poster advertisements were usually aimed at the common housewife, who would be wary about taking on a job such as riveting.
1943, I said, I'm going to go to work. If it kills me, I'm going to get a job. Because I can't sit here doing nothing. Every time I'd go by a sign, there was Uncle Sam. Your country wants you. They wanted me, so I said, okay, I'm back.
It was more difficult to convince men than it was to convince women that it was all right for women to be involved in the workforce. During the 3 years that the Rosies actively participated in working in the home front, their new responsibilities brought them both success and freedom, and burden and discourage. Though some were supportive, many men believed that women did not belong in the workplace, rather in the house. Nonetheless, over 20 million women were a part of the Rosie the Riveter social movement and were also a part of various labor unions. Women partook in jobs spanning from riveting to welding to working on electric lines.
So I walked in the union hall and I said, I want a job. And the man looked at me and he says, do you belong to the union? I says, I don't think so. What do I know about a union? So he says, well, don't worry. You can get the job and join the union right here. So I said, oh, this is great. They need me. There was no signs up then. I said, okay. So he says, you're going to be a welder. Okay, whatever he tells me, I'm going to do.
Working, I was 22 years old when I came to work. Electrician, I worked here in Richmond at Yard 3, where we're sitting in right now. This is Yard 3. And that's where I worked all the time. Both of my sisters did too.
Though they were not paid nor treated equally, World War II was a stepping stone for women to gain full and equal rights in the workplace.
I have been put in departments where men did their job, but I got women's pay. But if they did our job, they got men pay. They didn't reduce their pay, but they didn't raise our pay either.
When the men of the country returned from World War II, women gave up their jobs for the men to work.
After the war, the jobs were for the men. When they came home, we knew that. We knew it was for the duration. And so we were happy that they were able to come home and have a job.
Although this was an impediment for women to gain rights, they slowly began to attain them. In 1961, President John Kennedy issued a commission that would stop discrimination against women in the workforce. In 1963, Congress passed the Equal Pay Act, which made it illegal to pay men and women differently for doing the same job. In 1964, the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act established equality of race and sex in the workforce. In 2009, President Obama signed his first bill, which happened to be the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act.
It was a big step toward making sure every worker in this country, man or woman, receives equal pay for equal work.
We have come a long way from 1942. Who knows? Maybe if women didn't alter their responsibilities during World War II, they may not have gained equal rights until much later on in history. The victory of the U.S. in World War II should not only be accredited to the soldiers fighting in battles, but also the millions of women who held themselves responsible to make the war efforts possible. Because of World War II, women began to shift responsibilities and gradually gained rights in the working field. Because of World War II, Rosie the Riveter inspired thousands of women to stand for themselves and demand the equal rights that they deserve. We may have been victorious in battles, but the most important victory is that after women changed their responsibilities due to World War II, America slowly began to grant them equal rights in the workplace.
It's really opened the door for the women of today. I just think it was a good time that we were privileged to do the work and that what came of it. And women today can do anything they want to. Anything.